You know how they say that January is the place where movies go to die because you usually get the worst of the worst movies coming out in January? Tarantino's newest movie is right where it should be. The Hateful Eight movie review. Now you can probably judge that this is going to be a painful one, but I'll try to take you through it. So The Hateful Eight, shot in glorious and unnecessary 70mm Panavision, is essentially a westernized version of the game Clue. A murder mystery happens and we're left to guess who done it. The story starts off with Samuel L. Jackson jumping on a stagecoach with Kurt Russell in it, and they're trying to get away from a blizzard. Ultimately, they don't get away from the blizzard, and what we're led to is what they call a haberdashery, which is essentially a cabin in the mountains where all of our main characters are now going to unite, and a murder mystery ensues. Problem is, there's not much of a murder mystery. Honestly, guys, I found this movie so difficult to watch. For the first time in my life, I was at the cinema with a friend of mine called Bob. I nearly leaned over to him and said, "Should we walk out?" And with that said, there's not much positive to talk about here, so let me take you through why I think this movie sucks. Let's start with the cinematography. We have heard raving talk from Quentin Tarantino about he's shooting in 70mm Panavision. For those of you that don't know, 70mm is what you would use to create huge sweeping panoramic shots. Now, we get this for about 5 to 10 long minutes at the beginning of the movie. Now you can tell what Tarantino's going for here. He's trying to recreate, something like Alfred Hitchcock believes in, don't say it, show it, which kind of goes against what Tarantino is, because we all know him for his great dialogue. Both credit to him, he's going for something here. But unfortunately, every single shot fails to advance the story in any way, to the degree where you can actually feel each shot going, come on, cut already, move, next. And this is exactly why, beyond the sort of 5 to 10 minutes I just mentioned, the whole movie is essentially set in two locations. And guess what? Both of them are interiors. Inside of a stagecoach doesn't require 70mm. Inside for 80% of the movie, the haberdashery, aka cabin, doesn't require 70mm. So the whole gimmick and the whole build up to this, oh my god, I'm harkening back to a bygone age of Hollywood where it was real art, am I using 70mm in glorious Panavision? Pointless! Now we come to the dialogue, and this is the part of the movie that absolutely shocked me. Tarantino is famed as being probably the best guy in the business for writing dialogue. I mean, he can make a restaurant scene. Think about Pulp Fiction's restaurant scene or Reservoir Dogs' restaurant scene. That's like the death nail in any movie script. You don't do restaurant scenes. Tarantino's one of the only guys who knows how to make a restaurant scene interesting. There is nothing inspiring in the dialogue here. There's nothing interesting. There's nothing engaging. It's over the top, racist, uninspiring, unchallenging, not entertaining in the fucking slightest. No, I'm serious. You think that you think that this is the same guy who wrote all of these great movies that we remember back from the 90s? This is gone. Next problem I have is the pace of the movie. Now, throughout the movie, Tarantino seems to be going for a sort of homage to some of his greatest work. Most obviously, in terms of the pacing, I'm talking Kill Bill. The way that Kill Bill was chaptered, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's done exactly the same. But whereas each chapter in Kill Bill was more or less given an equal amount of time because each chapter was constructive to making the story advance, chapters 1 and 2, boom, gone. And what are we given in chapters 1 and 2? 70mm Panavision, boring dialogue. To chapter 3, which seems never ending. Chapter 3 essentially takes place inside of the cabin, so it's taken 2 chapters with just 3 characters to get to the damn cabin, where nothing has basically happened and you haven't really learnt much about the characters, other than the fact that they're both bounty hunters, and one of them is a sheriff, and one of them is the person who's going to hang. That's it. And so we come to chapter 3, and you think we're going to have some cool character intro or some cool dialogue now that we've got more players in the room. It's when Tim Roth and when Michael Madsen enter the fray. Nothing happens here. They kind of try this gimmick with the door about how the door doesn't close, and uninspiring. Now, Tarantino's movies have always been famous for things like over-dramatization, being comic book strippy, racism, violence. This movie's racism just goes unnecessarily too far. Tarantino's always liked to use the N-word, as we know. In this time, all we have is Samuel L. Jackson for 3 to 5 minutes talking, and I quote, about suck my big black dungus for 3 minutes. That's it. This is because he's telling a guy how he killed his son, made him walk butt naked in the snow, and ended up sucking his big black dungus. Great. Pulp Fiction, remember? Fun. Racist, but engaging. Fun. Suck my big black dungus. What? Tarantino is one seriously issued up puppy whose mummy did not clearly hug him enough. Now don't get me wrong, this is nothing we didn't already know, but it was clearly more accepted in the past because of the stylization of his movies which engaged us on such a deep level. Here? And so we come to chapter 4, because chapter 3 concludes with basically the outcome of the whodunit, who's the murder mystery, and the murder mystery was so forced and pushed on. Chapter 4 is essentially a flashback of how they came to the conclusion of whodunit, right? And it's done, you expect a flashback, again, a homage here to Pulp Fiction. You expect that in a Tarantino movie, the way the chronology bounces all over the place, which can actually make the movie engaging. Again, just like Pulp Fiction. Here, all it does is we get a flashback which is completely removed from the story, and to make the flashback in chapter 4 link to the rest of the story, we get the worst voiceover I think I've ever heard. Now don't get me wrong, voiceovers can be generally agreed upon to be a very, very lazy method of delivering a story. However, they can also be incredibly engaging. Voiceovers can be great. But not only is this voiceover completely terrible and is so forced because chapter 4 otherwise would have no correlation to the rest of the movie whatsoever, so you use the voiceover to make it connect. Who does the voiceover? One of the characters in the movie? Oh, no. It's delivered by Tarantino himself. Literally, this guy in this movie reaches levels of high on his own self-importance, the likes of which we haven't seen since M. Night Shyamalan. I just compared Tarantino to M. Night Shyamalan. Deal with it, and if you disagree, it's because you haven't seen the movie. Again, the way the chronology is broken up and then force-fed through a voiceover in an attempt to replicate Pulp Fiction just falls so flat on its face. Chapter 5 is a typical way that you would expect a Tarantino movie to end. Spaghetti gore, but whereby in Django Unchained there was a purpose for it. This is just boom bang bang spaghetti bloody fake B-movie gore for the sake of it. I'm gonna shoot some testicles off, I'm gonna shoot someone in the face and blow their head off, I'm gonna shoot someone in the toe, I'm gonna hang someone. Yeah. Great. Now I know there's going to be a lot of naysayers out there going, yeah, but that's what you expect in a Tarantino movie. No. Michael Bay and the Transformers movies. If you don't have any, if action is just there and explosions are just there for the sake of it, it becomes visual noise. Chapter 5 of Hateful Eight, same, visual noise. Nothing interesting. There's a bit of tension created when there's a deal being made between the girl who's supposed to hang, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, after everyone else is dead, but it leads to ultimately nothing, to a predictable, boring ending. And so I have to now finish my criticism with the acting. You would think, having worked with many actors before, and Tarantino usually being able to bring out good performances from his actors. I mean, put it this way, Michael Madsen shouldn't have been in the movie. Tim Roth looks like he's phoning it in. People who are saying Samuel L. Jackson's in the role of his lifetime. Bullshit! To be honest, guys, the only positive I can find in this movie is the very brief period in which the movie delivers on its promises, in where you've got the main protagonist, played by Samuel L. Jackson, trying to guess who done it, and he's got everyone lined up, and you're there with him going, okay, so was it you? No, couldn't have been you. Ah, it was you. Okay, no, maybe it wasn't you. But then all it does is it cuts to chapter 4 and tries to tag on a person who's completely apart, who hasn't been in the movie, and the whole point of a clue game is you piece the clues together. Nothing like that. Not there. So actually all that tension and suspense and the enjoyment you're having by trying to guess who it does, because of the tagged on voiceover in chapter 4, it's completely irrelevant. So even the enjoyment becomes irrelevant. Guys, in conclusion, it pains me to say this, but the only thing I can draw is Tarantino has completely lost the plot. He's high on his own self-importance. The desire to use 70mm Panavision was completely pointless, other than a few, and I cannot stress this enough, wanky mountain shots which serve no purpose to actually advancing the story. In fact, you know what they look like? Here's an image right here. They look like one of the recent Van Damme Coors beer commercials. That's how invigorating they were to watch. The Hateful Eight is nothing more than a failed attempt to recreate some of his past glories, which seem an age away now, while trying to stick with his new theme of the Western. The acting is bad. The dialogue is embarrassing. The violence is boring and predictable. And best of all, Tarantino is now guilty of one of the worst bits of voiceover ever made. Thanks, dude. I cannot rate The Hateful Eight anything higher than a 2 out of 10, and that's being generous, and that too only comes from the fact that there was a few brief moments of enjoyment. So what do you guys think? Have you seen The Hateful Eight? Do you completely disagree with me? Do you enjoy it? Or are you more on my path and do you think Tarantino has gone batshit fucking crazy and has completely lost the plot and arguably forgotten how to make great movies? Please comment below, let me know. I am Nico from the Silver Screen Dudes. See ya.